Tonight with Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn, member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. We'll get into that in a couple of minutes. Senator, welcome back.
Good to see you. Thank you.
Okay, so interesting headline from Kyle Smith in the National Review talks about what the president has done. He says his actions have been the appropriate ones: severe economic sanctions, military aid, weapon shipments, attempts at making diplomatic contact, aid to refugees, and proposals to welcome 100,000 of them to the U.S. Biden seems to me to be doing just about everything he can that makes sense. Do you agree or disagree, Senator?
I would take a little bit of a disagreement with that. We're pleased that finally he is stepping up and beginning to take some actions, but he should have been doing these things last fall. Also, with NATO, he should be the leader of the free world and get the team together to stand against what Russia is doing, to hold Vladimir Putin accountable for the war crimes. And also, he should say to our allies and our NATO partners, you know what? We don't have to depend on Russia for oil and gas. We should have an Operation Warp Speed here in the United States and go back to Keystone Pipeline, which, by the way, would have been finished by the end of this year had he not stopped it, and drill in Alaska. Make certain that we are acting on those federal leases, that we are issuing those drilling permits, that we're not flaring gas, that we're putting it into the pipeline. Those are all things that he could discuss with NATO and send the message to Russia that they are not going to get by with selling to the EU, selling to us, and financing this war against Ukraine.
Meanwhile, they're negotiating the new Iran nuke deal in the middle of all this. Russia is. Yes. Iran's foreign minister says this, or is quoted saying, if the U.S. acts pragmatically, we're ready to have foreign ministers of countries belonging to the Nuclear Deals Joint Commission gather in Vienna to finalize the agreement. We believe that today we are closer to an agreement in Vienna than ever before. There are a lot of things that we don't know about the deal, but there are things that we assume and know about the deal that concern a lot of people across the political spectrum, and yet Russia's the one sitting there negotiating this deal that Iran now wants us to sign on to.
That is exactly correct. And what we do know is that Iran and Russia want this to be binding. If it is going to be binding, that's a treaty. That has to come to us for ratification. It is also ludicrous that we would have the Russians negotiating a deal for us with the Iranians, that we would even consider to be buying oil and gas from Iran or from Venezuela, for that matter. Shannon, this is unbelievable. It's the kind of stuff you can't make up, that they would go about doing this. They need to increase the economic sanctions, go back to sanctions on Nord Stream 2, do our Operation Warp Speed for energy, and tell Iran, no, we do not want to deal with you. We are not going to let you benefit. You've, over the past decade, put $16 billion into sponsoring terrorist organizations to carry out attacks against our men and women, and no, we are not going to do business with you. Likewise, when you're doing business with Vladimir Putin and the Russians buying oil and gas, you're giving him the money that he needs to carry out this attack. Also, what is he saying now? He is going to do soldiers for hire, mercenaries to carry out urban warfare in Ukraine. This needs to stop.
I want to make sure that we get in and ask you about your other big job this week, which was as part of the Senate Judiciary Committee asking questions of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, the nominee. The Washington Post says that you guys, the Republicans, were way too hard on her. It says they smeared Judge Jackson based on obvious distortions of her record and the law. Senator Marsha Blackburn used much of her time assailing those concerned about transgender people. They go on to say, you know, no one's blameless. Both sides have done this, but they say the Republicans have actually done the most damage. You had the question that seems to be the one of the week, asking Judge Jackson to define a woman, and she declined. Did you go too hard on her?
Not at all. It is important for us to do our job, to do our duty, and to ask hard questions. The federal judge, whether it's the district or the appellate bench or the Supreme Court, these are lifetime appointments. And it is important that we ask questions. And when she was before us for her appellate post, I asked her at that point if she would talk to me about court packing, if she would give me a definition of her judicial philosophy, and she never really did that. So, Shannon, I asked her about these other issues that are important. CRT, parental rights. Asked her about her opinion on the VMI decision that Ginsburg wrote, wanting to know where she stands on this personal hidden agendas that she wrote she believed that judges had, or what she had done to go soft on hardened criminals and wanting to release 1,561 criminals from the D.C. Department of Corrections during COVID, and of course, going light on child pornographers and child exploitation. This is answers that we need. Parents want to know they're going to have a justice who will be there to help protect children, help protect parental rights, help protect our freedoms and our liberties. And during this questioning is the one chance that the American people have the opportunity to get those answers for a lifetime appointment.
And for a lot of those justices, unless they give a speech here and there, we don't really hear much from them again publicly.
That's right.
Senator, thank you for your time. Always good to see you.
Good to be with you. Thank you.